list them on Airbnb, and then automate nearly everything so that you can earn six figures or even more working part-time. Now, I know that sounds like a gigantic claim, but stick with me because by the end of the presentation, you're going to see how that's absolutely possible. What you're going to learn during the presentation is, first of all, I'm going to show you how to create semi-passive income using Airbnb, and that you don't need to own any property in order to do this. You can actually rent properties. Now, if you do own property, if you're a real estate investor and you're listening in right now, then you can earn considerably more with Airbnb, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. I'm going to show you how to scale up by getting multiple properties, multiple listings, and how to put it all on autopilot by outsourcing and automating. And I'm also going to show you actual screenshots. I'm going to show you my actual properties inside my account, case studies of each one of my listings. And then towards the end, I'm also going to let you see some successful students who are also earning big on Airbnb. And I don't want to assume that everybody knows what Airbnb is. I don't want to assume that most of you maybe do, but for those of you who don't, I want to explain really quickly what Airbnb is. So basically, Airbnb is an online service that allows anybody to make money hosting guests in a spare room or an entire property. And you can stay in a house, a condo, a yurt, a tree house. There are people putting yachts on Airbnb, and there are actually castles on the website. So really pretty much anything that you could stay in by the night, Airbnb will allow you to put on the site. They operate in 191 countries. I'm sorry if you're tuning in from North Korea, you're out of luck, but pretty much anywhere else on earth, they do have Airbnb listings. And this quote right here kind of blew me away. Check this out. Airbnb's total number of listings is higher than the top 5 major hotel brands combined. That's how big Airbnb has become. And look at this. This one is really, really mind-bending. 1.4 million new people sign up every week to book an Airbnb for the first time. And that's from the book, The Airbnb Story, that was published. I added right here, all those people are going to need a place to stay. Okay, and that's what we're here about. That's what we're talking about. So why is this important? Well, first of all, you don't have to own real estate anymore to make a fortune. You can rent. And if you do own property, you now can make more. And if you've ever rented an apartment or a home to live in ever in your life, then you already know how half of this works. It's not rocket science. Now, if you're new to Airbnb and you want to jumpstart your success, this is going to be for you. Or maybe you're an experienced host and you want to learn how to scale up to go to the next level. This is going to be for you if you're a realtor or a real estate investor and you want to leverage your knowledge. You're going to want to pay attention. Or if you just want to be free of a boss, employees, or full-time hours. That's what I wanted. I wanted to kick my boss to the curb, and that's why I got into this business. So you might be wondering, all right, who's Brian Page? So let me tell you a little bit about me, why I might be qualified to talk about Airbnb. First of all, I was a real estate flipper in my 20s, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that story shortly. So I was a real estate investor and house flipper. I made over $300,000 my very first year renting properties on Airbnb. I'm also a business coach with thousands of students from right now currently 38 different countries around the world. And I am creator of the world's #1 best-selling Airbnb program. So that's a little bit about me. And before I dive into the real meat of the topic here, I want to go over a couple house rules. The first house rule is this isn't about get rich quick. Now, I know you might be listening to me and thinking, well, Brian, you just told me you made all this money really quickly on Airbnb. So what do you mean by get rich quick? Well, what I mean by that is that this isn't like something where you do nothing and you make money. It's not effortless earnings. Okay, this is going to require you to actually go do something in order to make money. So I want you to know that's not what this is. And also, my results are not typical. I can't guarantee your results. I don't know who you are. I don't know your ability to actually follow directions or go do anything. So I can't guarantee your results. And anybody who says they'll guarantee you your results, I'd be very wary of. And also, I'm not about sneaky, misleading methods. What does that mean? Well, some people in this industry will take properties that they lease from owners and then don't tell the owners what they're up to and list them on Airbnb. What I'm going to teach you is not about that. We're going to make sure it's above board. Everybody is on board, and it's a win-win situation for the owners, and it's a win for us. So I'm not about those kind of methods. Now, I do have a confession to make. Not everybody is going to say yes and just let you take their property and put it on Airbnb, but I'm going to show you how to tip the scales in your favor so enough of them do. And maybe you think that success on Airbnb came easy to me because I was a real estate investor, but you know what? I'm an expert on what does not work. I've tried it all. I bought all the gimmicky products. I've tried all kinds of businesses that didn't work for me. I bought remember the guy on TV with the blazer with all the question marks all over it, and he used to yell at the TV camera, "Get my course and I'll teach you how to get free money from the government, free government grants." I bought that. Didn't work. I tried the money-making websites. Supposedly you buy these money-making websites and they spit off money and you don't have to do anything or have any real technical skills to do that. Didn't work out for me. Not saying it can't be done, but I never made any money doing that. I tried a landscaping business. I got into landscaping because a buddy of mine was making over 6 figures a year landscaping. And so I thought, well, I'll do that. And it went well until the day I walked out of my front door and all my lawn mowing equipment on my trailer was stolen. That was the end. It was literally gone. That was the end of my landscaping career, but it was actually a really good thing because it led me to the next thing. And after trying all these businesses that didn't work, I was led into real estate. And I learned that more millionaires are created through real estate than just about any other vehicle. And this is what I like to call my riches to rags story. And it's not because I was born rich. I certainly was not born rich at all. But what I mean by this is how I lost everything that I had built in real estate. Because I started flipping homes. I started flipping homes in the early 2000s before anybody knew what flipping houses were. There was no TV show, Flip This House, none of that stuff. It was very, very early in the consciousness of the public. And I flipped over 100 properties and had a lot of success doing that. And I rode that bubble, that real estate bubble, all the way up. In fact, I became a millionaire before the age of 30 doing this. And then in the mid-2000s, if some of you can remember, maybe some of you are too young, but mid-2000s, the real estate crash happened, and I lost everything. I literally lost all of my properties when that real estate crash happened. And what happened is all my properties were foreclosed on, including my personal home. My credit, of course, was in the toilet. I ran out of cash. I was basically bankrupt. And I remember there was a point at which, probably the lowest point, I would say, in my professional career, was I had my BMW taken back by the bank. I bought an $1,800 beater Buick LeSabre car where the headliner was sitting on my head when I drove the car. I literally had to push the headliner off my face in order to be able to see where I was going. It was an $1,800 car. And at a certain point, I was going through the drive-thru at Wendy's and I was looking for change in the backseat cushion of my car in order to buy like a dollar value menu item. Okay, I don't know if anybody can relate to being that po, but that's how broke I was. And it was a really low point in my life because I had success, right? And had to basically start over. I was more broke than when I began my journey in real estate. And so I had to go back to getting a real job. I just had to get any job to pay the bills. So I found myself saying, okay, now what do I do? What do I do now? I could stay where I was in this job that I hated for the next 30 years. I know some of you might love your job. That wasn't the case with me. I wanted out. Or I could start all over. I could try to design my perfect business. I could try to find my perfect business. What would that be if I could find something else? And so I started looking at option number 2. I started writing down all the things that I wanted in a perfect business. I don't know if you can read my chicken scratch here, but I'll tell you on the left here what I wrote down. So first of all, I wanted something that didn't involve any loans or mortgages or debt because I didn't feel like signing my name to millions of dollars in real estate again. I didn't want to have employees like I did before. I didn't want to have an expensive office or all that overhead. I didn't want any of that. I also wanted something that would give me cash flow, not just monthly cash flow, but something preferably daily that would pay me every single day. I also wanted something that didn't involve trading my time for money. So in other words, not something that I work for by the hour or get paid a salary to do. And then I also wanted something that was fully mobile. So I wanted something I could do from a laptop from anywhere in the world. And then by the time I wrote down this list, I didn't know where it was going to lead me. This is just what I was looking for. And I started looking at what was going on in the world around me, particularly with the world's most valuable companies. And these are some of the, quote, unicorn companies that have come along out of nowhere and are worth billions of dollars. And these are companies you're familiar with, like Facebook. But the interesting thing that you're going to see here is with Facebook, for example, Facebook is worth all this money and it's known all over the world with billions of users, and yet they don't create any content. Now stick with me here. The content on Facebook is created by us, the users, right? We post the photos, we get into political debates, we post the funny memes and make friends and share posts with each other. It's all that content is created by us, but yet the content gives Facebook its value. Another company I looked at was Uber. And Uber has replaced taxis. It's this unbelievable app that's kind of sexier than taxis and completely disrupted that industry. And yet Uber owns no cars. Now that is changing because they are going to be owning driverless cars soon, but you get the idea. Uber is worth billions of dollars now because they've leveraged other people's cars. I started looking at companies like Amazon. Amazon is just crushing the traditional retail model. They're actually threatening the almighty Walmart. Who would have thought that a few years ago? Amazon is changing everything, and yet Amazon, for all the packages they ship all over the world, hundreds of millions of packages, they don't make any products. Yeah, they might stamp their name on certain products, but there's no actual Amazon factory cranking out widgets, right? They really just use other people's products, move them around, and create value. And then that brought me to the company Airbnb. And Airbnb is now larger than the largest hotel chains in the world, and yet they don't own any property. Now that's changing also. They're starting to get into property ownership, but they've gotten to the point now by leveraging other people's properties. And all these companies, as I looked at them, I started asking myself the question, why couldn't I do the same? Why couldn't I create something really, really valuable without having to actually own the underlying asset, the underlying thing that makes it valuable? And so you might be wondering, okay, well, how does Airbnb help me make money? Well, it's very simple. Guests pay me to stay in a spare room or an entire property for one or more nights, just like a hotel. I never have to collect credit cards or cash or any of that from my guests. Airbnb handles all the payments. And every morning, they make a direct deposit into my bank account. I get 97% of all the bookings. That's right. Airbnb keeps 3% from the host. That's it. And every time a guest stays with you, you get a direct deposit the next day. And I don't need to go find these guests. I don't need to advertise. I've never spent a single dime on advertising. It all comes from the Airbnb website. Now, this article right here, this article is what started it all for me. When I read this article, I was like, how in the world, this is in Forbes, by the way, how in the world are 75 people making $1 million a year from Airbnb? I don't know if you can see that here, but it says $2,739 a day. Now, I don't know if you can live on that, but that's pretty good money, $19,000 a week. And you'll see right here, the key to the whole article is multiple versus single listings. That's what I'm going to teach you, how to get multiple properties so that you can scale to six figures and even beyond, like Forbes says right here. And this quote right here is my favorite quote from the article. Airbnb is an economic revolution that is quietly turning millions of people into part-time entrepreneurs. Love that. So what makes this opportunity so powerful? Now, if you're taking notes, you're going to want to get your pen out and your paper out because I'm going to dive in deep now and explain how this works. Okay, so I'm going to take a typical rental. I actually found this on Craigslist. This is a $1,200 one bedroom in Atlanta, Georgia. It's an actual rental. So I took this and I wanted to show you. Let's take this as an example. And let's say this property is owned by Mr. Owner. Mr. Owner is looking for somebody to stay in this property full time. In other words, 30 days a month. He's really looking for somebody for a year, but we're going to talk about days here because I want you to get into the mindset of days, not months or years. So 30 days every single month on average. You divide $1,200 into 30 days, it's $40 a day. See how I got that? $40 a day to live in this property is what it costs. And he's going to bring in $1,200 a month on that property if he gets a tenant. Now, let's assume that this Mr. Owner here, he's got a mortgage, he's got taxes and insurance and all that stuff. And let's say all of that together is about $900 a month. Well, if Mr. Owner lists that property with a tenant, he's going to make $300 profit. Pretty simple math, right? $300 profit in his pocket every month. That right there, my friends, is the oldest game in the book. It's how real estate has always been done. You buy a property, you put a tenant in it, you make cash flow. That's what I did. I had a lot of rental units. I did the exact same thing. But wait a second. What if that owner, instead of putting a tenant in the property, were to rent it to somebody like me, a B&B'er, Airbnb'er? And I were to talk to that owner, get permission from him to turn around and list it on Airbnb, turn it into a listing where I'm charging $130 a night. What if that were to happen? Now, I want you to see these numbers at the bottom here, just to know that I'm not just pulling these numbers out of the air. The average hotel room rate in the U.S. right now is $133 a night. And the median one bedroom in the U.S. is $1,234. So right around the $1,200 example that I gave you here. So you can see where I got these numbers from. Now, if I turn it into an Airbnb listing in the upper right corner here, and I were to put it on Airbnb for just 20 days, let's say just 20 days a night, I have guests staying in that place. At $130 a day on average, I'm bringing in $2,600 a month, right? So how much does that represent to me, the B&B'er? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Let's take a look. Remember, it's $2,600 coming in from Airbnb. I'm going to pay $1,200 rent each month, and then let's say about $200 in utilities, which is about right on a small studio like this or a small one bedroom. So we're looking at a net of $1,200 a month profit, or $14,400 a year on this one little rental. Now, I know that might not change your life. Maybe for some people it would, but check this out. We're going to compare the old way versus the new way. So the old way of real estate is you take a property, you turn it into a rental, and you make $300 a month. The new way is you take that property, turn it into a B&B property, and make $1,200 a month, which is 400% more profitable. Now I want to compare these two ways to each other one more time, doing what we call a break even. Now, a break even is just how long does it take us to get our money back, our investment back. So if we were going to purchase this property, like Mr. Owner did, let's say it's $200,000. We got to put down at least 20% because we're not going to live in the property. So banks are going to ask us for 20% down, which is $40,000 out of our pocket. Divide that by the $300 a month net that we get back every single month as a rental. That means it's going to take 133 months to get our money back just based on the cash flow. See how I did that? 133 months or 11 years. Now look at the B&B side. I have $0 for purchase because I'm not buying the property. I have zero money down because there's no down payment. Yes, I have to put down $1,200 deposit and $1,200 for first month's rent, but I can get that back in 1 month because remember, I'm bringing in $2,600. So I'm actually making a little bit of profit there. 1 month to break even, which is 133 times faster than the traditional model. See the difference here? Now, yes, some people might say, well, wait a second, Brian, what about appreciation? What if you own the property, you're going to get appreciation? You're going to be able to pay down that debt. Yes, that's true. But what you gain with this model of not owning is that you gain simplicity, a very, very low risk, and extremely low cost. We're talking about a very small amount of money to immediately start creating cash flow in your life. That's what makes this so powerful. Now imagine if you have one listing bringing in $1,200 a month. Not hard to do. Lots of people have done this. But let's say you go out another month or two and you get another listing, bringing in roughly the same amount. So now you're making $2,400 a month. And then you go out another month or two later, whatever pace you want to go, you get a third property for $3,600. And you keep going across, say, 7 properties. Now, why 7? Well, 7 properties is $8,400 a month times 12 months is $100,000 a year. And just so you know, I did it with less than 7 properties. And I've had some students that have done it in like 3 properties. So I'm just showing you a very conservative example, but you can see how this works when you start stacking these listings. Now, this is the exact same formula I used to make $301,000 on Airbnb and $117,000 of that, boom, right there in the first 6 months alone. Okay, now I'm going to come back to the screen here in just a minute. Let me tell you how it started. It just started with my second room. I had a rental. I was renting a 2-bedroom apartment. My roommate moved out, and I had this room. I didn't know what to do with it, so I put it up on Airbnb. Like a lot of people, I was just trying to make some side income. And it was working out so well that I actually got to live in the property for free. I paid for all my rent and all my utilities and was living for free. And so I decided to go look for something else, right? I looked for a rental, and down the street, I found this little place right here. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. The lady had a for rent sign in the front yard. I knocked on her door, said, hey, I want to check out your apartment. She walked me around to the back, separate entrance, walked in. There's a little 1-bedroom there. And I said, look, I want to rent this from you. I know it sounds crazy. I don't want to live in it. I just want to put it on. She didn't even know what Airbnb was. I said, I want to put it online and have guests that are coming into town stay here. And if you rent it to me, I promise I'll take great care of it. I'll pay the rent on time. I'll be the best tenant you've ever had. And it was $1,800 a month for this unit. Okay, that's a lot for a 1-bedroom. So don't be fixed on that. This works whether it's $800 or $2,800. And I paid $300 in utilities for this particular listing. So all in $2,100. She got back to me and said, you know what, Brian? I'll rent it to you. Let's do this. So I took this property right here. I put it up on Airbnb. October was when I first found this property. You can see I have no transactions here because I hadn't listed it yet. Now check out the next month. Boom, right here, $3,700, $3,716 I brought in from Airbnb, minus the $2,100 that I told you that the costs were on this unit, means I brought in $1,616 net profit. Isn't that crazy? $1,600 my first month on my first listing. And you can see right here, all these green numbers right here are deposits going into my bank account. This is where I gave somebody a credit or a discount. But you can see here's all the people. I didn't block out their names. So hopefully none of these people are on the webinar tonight. But you can see all of the amounts right here. In November, I made $1,600. I don't know how you compare this to traditional real estate model, but $1,600 is way better than $300. I can tell you that. Now check out what happened the next month. $3,851. I brought in $3,851 for the month of December. That means I made $1,751 profit. $1,700 profit on one little rental around the corner from where I live. So here's for the year. January to December, I brought in $45,000. Minus my expenses is $20,555. $20,000 on this one little unit. And then what I did is I just kept running that one unit, decided to add another one. So now I've got the room in my place, I've got that apartment, and I've got this one as well. Now this was a studio, and it was $2,000 a month, all utilities included, and it was furnished. Okay. Now the first one I did have to furnish, but I got my money back in the furnishings from that $1,600 I made. So I immediately got back my money on my furnishings the first month. But check this one out. I had to pay for Netflix because it wasn't included. So I added Netflix. I have a $2,011 cost on this place. Now, when I approached this owner, she was actually thrilled with the idea of what I wanted to do with her property. Why? Because she'd been trying to rent it out for about 4 months. Couldn't find a tenant because, hey, I don't care where you live. $2,000 for a little studio is kind of pricey. And she couldn't find a tenant, so she was excited by the idea of what I wanted to do. And what I did is I took the photos, these photos that were on Craigslist, and I immediately put them up on Airbnb and started getting bookings before I even had the keys to the property. So I knew that my first month was profitable before I even could get in the property. I signed the lease, but I didn't have access yet. So I don't recommend doing that unless you absolutely know you're getting the property. But I basically guaranteed my profits before I started. And it was already furnished, so there was nothing really to do. So this one right here, let me show you how I did on this one. I brought in $2,097. Now remember, I brought in 2011 was my expenses, so I only made $86 profit. That's okay. That was my first month. I was looking to break even my first month. Check out what happened the second month. $45.24. I made $25.13 profit, and it was all done with one person right here, Stacy. Stacy, actually, I gave her a discount because she was booking for the entire month. Now, why in the world would Stacy want to pay me that much money, actually $4,524 to stay for a whole month? Well, because she was looking to move to the area, and staying in a hotel would have been more expensive. So she was actually saving money. She wanted to live in that neighborhood, so she was willing to pay $4,500. So I had one guest the whole month and got to pocket $2,500. Check out the next month, $2,800 profit. And the next month, even more, $6,557. I made $45.46 profit in April. Now, I don't know if you'll do these numbers on your listing, but can you imagine just having one listing that brings in $1,000 a month, or one listing that brings in $2,000 a month every month? So look at this, $55,950. I made $31,818 on that listing. So you can see how these numbers start to add up quickly. Then I went out and got this unit right here. It was also utilities included and furnished. So you can see I'm learning here. I'm looking for furnished properties now. So my all-in expenses was $2,200 on this unit. And you can see right here, I made $685, only $685. I mean, that's a lot of cash flow. I don't know if anybody is a real estate investor, but to make $685 on a one bedroom, that in and of itself is really, really good cash flow. But it went up from there. I made $1,899 on that month and $2,069 that month. And you get the idea. So after I did a few one bedrooms, I decided to go do a 2-bedroom apartment. I got to show you something about this place. So this was in a not so nice part of town, okay? Not a fancy area at all. In fact, it was only $1,300 for 2 bedrooms. Remember how much I was paying for one? So this is $1,300 for 2. And you can see here, look at this place. It's got commercial grade carpet. These cabinets, I mean, it's just basic. It's a very basic apartment. You can see my fake flowers here, and I didn't put any fancy furniture in here. I think this couch actually came with it. And I went out and got some beds and some cheap furnishings and put them in there and listed this thing. All right, so just plain Jane, nothing fancy. Look what it did when I put it on Airbnb. So $1,355. I actually did not break even the first month. I'm showing you all the good, bad, and the ugly here. So I was actually negative $245 the first month. I think it took me a little bit before I got it listed. I didn't list it immediately. You can see my first guest was April 7th. So I think I lost a week getting it up and ready. But check out what happened the next month. $2,356 profit. $23.56 profit on a cheaper unit. And look at this, $14.82 profit here in June. And it kept going on average about $1,500. And I just kept going. I added this listing. It was only $14.75. So you can see now I'm getting cheaper units. And I put this on Airbnb, making $1,000 profit here. And then this month, $37.50. I'm sorry, $37.30, and $32.98 there. So I don't want to bore you to tears, but here's the big takeaway: $117,000 right here the first 6 months. Remember, told you the first 6 months, and then this is what I made for the year, January to December, $242,000 right there. And then remember my room? Well, I decided to not just take my room, but to take the whole place. I moved out of the apartment, took the whole place, listed it on Airbnb, and then I brought in $59,000 on that one unit. So let me add it up for you. My first year with Airbnb, I brought in $242,000 on units that I didn't live in. I brought in $59,000 on the unit that I did live in, and I made a total of $301,683 on Airbnb. And that's what I did. And I just basically, my goal was to add one listing per month. I quit my job after the fourth listing because I was making more from these listings than I was at my job. So I told my boss he's fired. That was one of the best days ever. I averaged between $1,200 and $3,100 a month net per property, per listing. And I work about 1 to 2 hours a day to manage everything. You might be thinking, how is that possible? I don't believe you. Okay, I'm going to explain how I can only work 1 to 2 hours to manage all that. And remember, I did this with bad credit. My credit was horrible, very little cash because I didn't have any, and only using other people's properties. Now, what I did is I learned at that point how to automate and outsource everything. That was my main goal. Once I started getting a few of these things, I had to figure out how to get myself out of the loop. And I wanted to basically be able to run it all from my iPhone or from a laptop. And it gave me that time freedom that I was looking for. And what this allowed me to do is I visited 19 countries my first year. I've visited somewhere between 15 and 19 countries a year now. And I just want to show you some of these photos. I'm not showing you these to brag or anything like that. I just want to show you the photos of what this business has allowed me to be able to do. Taking tons of time off to go do these things, months and months every year. So I got to go out west and explore every single national park, literally every park out west. And this is me in Utah with the Jeep. I got to go to Switzerland and explore Europe. I went to India. I've been to India several times now. This is the Taj Mahal. And I got to go to Hawaii. Here's me sitting on the beach, Hawaii, reading to some of my students and teaching them. And I got to hang out with my buddy Brad. Brad works with me in my company, and that's him and I on the coast of Vietnam. We took scooters up the coast of Vietnam, which was an amazing, epic trip. And I got to go see Angkor Wat in Cambodia and Dubai. Oh my gosh, if you ever have a chance to go to Dubai, you have to go. You just have to go. And then took my wife to New Zealand. Went to New Zealand and Australia, and that was pretty cool, and the Hobbit house and all that kind of stuff. Here's me on the south coast of Australia. And I got to go to all these countries. This was my very first year with Airbnb. All these countries. Here's me hanging out with an Airbnb in Egypt. We're right there in front of the Pyramid of Giza. This guy does Airbnb. He also is a guide at the pyramids, but he makes more money with his Airbnb in Egypt than he does as a guide at the pyramids. So pretty cool, right? And so anyways, I'm showing you all these because people started reaching out to me, people on social media, whatever, long lost friends, people from high school. They're like, Brian, what are you doing? Like, obviously you're not working. You're just traveling the world constantly. We know you're not a trust fund kid. So like, what are you doing to make money that allows you to have this lifestyle? And so I just said, look, I don't know. I rent other people's properties. I list them on Airbnb, and then I automate nearly everything so I can earn 6 figures working part-time. That's what I do. And so people started saying, well, okay, can you teach me? Can you give me some tips on this? Can you help me out? And then people I didn't know started reaching out to me. Strangers started reaching out to me. And before I knew it, I started teaching people what I did. And that led me to this, what I'm going to teach you right now. And here's how it works. I'm going to break it down for you. They're basically just 8 steps. 8 steps to building an Airbnb empire. And I'm going to go through them right now. So I'm going to go kind of quick. I can't teach you everything you need to know about all 8 steps, so we're going to be here for 47 hours, but I'll teach you the best and the most important things you're going to want to know if you're going to do this. So step 1, you got to collect your tools. What do I mean by that? Well, in order to get a yes from property owners, you're going to have some tools in place, and one of them is what I call landlord letter. Now, a landlord letter was essentially a sales letter that I came up with after meeting with literally hundreds of owners face to face. And as I met with a bunch of owners, I got a lot of no's, as you can imagine. Not everybody says yes. I got no's, and after I got a no from somebody, nah, I'm not interested in doing that, I would say, why? Can you tell me why? Just so I know for the future. And they would give me these answers like, well, it's too much wear and tear on my property. Or what if something happens and somebody sues me, or what if somebody destroys my property, or all these things, right? All these objections they would have. And I started writing them down. And I started writing down what the answer to each of those objections were so I could overcome them when I met with an owner. And now I don't even need to really explain myself. I just give them the letter and say, just read this, just keep this and think about it. And it basically goes over all the benefits of renting to me versus renting to a traditional tenant. And I'll give you an example. Let me just give you one or two examples. So an owner says, Brian, I'm not interested in doing this. There's too much wear and tear on my property with all those guests coming and going. And so I like to play the guests versus tenants game. And so I ask the owner, I say, okay, let's play the guests or tenants game. And when I say something, I want you to answer me whether or not it's a guest or a tenant. So I say, okay, somebody leaves their car on blocks in the driveway for months. Is that a guest or a tenant? Obviously, that's not a guest that's staying for 1 or 2 nights, right? What if somebody puts a satellite dish on the roof without permission? Or paints the third bedroom a weird color? Is that going to be a guest that's coming into town? No, absolutely not. Somebody's dog destroys the backyard and digs holes all over the place. Is that going to be a guest? No, because I don't allow my guests to have pets. It's one of the rules that I have. So you can see where this is going, right? All the bad experiences that owners have are generally happening with tenants, not with guests. And so I explain that to landlords. And I put all that together in a landlord letter. And this is something I give to my students. And it basically it squashes all the objections that people have. So they look at you and say, oh my gosh, you are the best choice that I have. You are the number one person that I should lease this property to. And that's how I do it when I meet with owners. And the cool thing is that when you meet one owner, it can lead into multiple properties. This happens all the time. An owner says, oh my gosh, Brian, I love how you keep and maintain the property. You have these cleaning crews coming in every 2 or 3 days and professionally cleaning the property. I've never seen my property kept up so nice. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. When my next unit comes available and vacant, you can have that unit too. Happens all the time. So you can find one owner that can unlock all kinds of properties for you if you don't own anything. There's other tools that you want to get in place, some basic things like open your account on Airbnb, get your profile and your listings set up and all those kind of things. So these are some of the things you want to get in place before you ever go look for a property. That's step one. Now, step two is to assemble your team. Now, by team, I don't mean employees. You don't have to have employees to do this. What I mean by team is your virtual team. Nowadays, everything can be done virtually, and I'm going to give you an example of how this is done. So right here, you have a guest, okay, who's going to stay in one of your Airbnb listings. Now, that guest is going to have questions. They're going to ask you questions through the Airbnb app, and they're going to say, hey, Brian, what's the Wi-Fi password? Is there a laundry room nearby? Where's the nearest bar so I can get a beer? What's the capital of Uruguay? I mean, you have no idea what these people are going to ask, right? But somebody's got to answer them because that's what's required, right? If you're running your own little hotel. Well, the difference here and what's possible is that you don't have to answer those questions. You can send them to your virtual front desk, which is what I do. I don't answer these questions. They go to a virtual front desk. Those people, which can be either a virtual assistant or you can hire a service now. I show you how to do this online for a few pennies on the dollar. They will answer all the questions for you back to your guest. And that process goes over and over and over again between your virtual front desk and the guest. While I'm over here enjoying my time in Hawaii, for example. And the only time that I have to step in here is when the virtual front desk says, hey, Brian, I've got a question that I can't answer. Can you answer this for me? And I say, here's the answer. Please put it on my list. Please put it on my policies list. And just next time they ask that question, don't bother me again. I'm getting a tan. So the idea is the longer you have your virtual front desk, the less involved you have to be in taking care of your guests. So you can see how I remove myself from this process. This is what I do with every process in my business. And I can show you how to do this with every single step. So it doesn't really matter how many properties you have, you're outsourcing all of this to someone else. I would rather make 95 cents on every dollar and do nothing than get 100 cents on every dollar and have to do it myself. So that brings us to step three. Step three is to locate the property. Now, when you go locate the property, what I want you to do is only focus on owners. Don't focus on any third parties. Don't go through any realtors or property management companies. Just trust me on this. You need to find the actual decision maker, the actual owner. Don't talk to anybody else. And remember, when you meet with the owner, and you're only talking to people that have rentals, okay? You're not talking to somebody that doesn't have a property for rent. You're talking to people that are looking for a tenant. When you meet with them, you see their property. Remember, you're solving their problem. They are looking for you. They're looking for a tenant. And you can go see several properties in a day. Okay, when I was working full-time at my job, all I did is I said, you know what, Brian? Saturdays and Sundays in the afternoons, I would just set up a bunch of rentals. I would call people and say, hey, I want to come see your rental. I would go look at 5 or 6 on a Saturday, 5 or 6 on a Sunday. And I knew if I did that, I'd find 1 or 2 people that would say yes. Right? It's just a numbers game, not hard. So that's what I did on the weekends, spare time. That brings us to step 4. Step 4 is to stage the unit. And one of the things I like to do with every single one of my listings is to put an electronic lock on the front door. You can get these things really cheap now. You can get them on Amazon for like $100, $150. And what this allows you to do is to give everybody a code. So now there's no more keys. Nobody's ever going to be locked out of a property. You don't have to run across town to key somebody in. You can actually remotely unlock your properties. I can unlock a property from anywhere in the world. Literally, just go online and press a button and the property is unlocked. So when you go to hotels nowadays, they give you a key card. They don't give you an actual key, right? If somebody gave you a key at the Marriott, you'd look at them like they had 3 heads. But for some reason, in residential real estate, we still use freaking keys. I don't understand it. So get yourself an electronic lock, and it will just radically make things so much easier so you can manage these remotely. And the whole key here is we want to eliminate going to properties. This is how I'm able to do this from overseas. And in addition to that, when you stage the unit, you got to have things like soap, shampoos, coffee, mints, all that kind of stuff, the things that hotels would put in their listings. You're going to do all those things as well, but you don't have to do them. Your cleaning company can put those things out. And none of this stuff has to come out of your pocket. I'm going to show you how to do all of this for zero cost, okay? All these things are going to be paid for by your guests. So here's how it works. So I'm going to take an example like wine. I like to give a bottle of wine to every guest that stays on my property. Okay, I like to be generous. I'm not so generous, you're going to see shortly. Why? Because I go to Total Wine or one of these wine superstores and I say, hey, to the manager, hey, Mr. Manager, can you show me a wine that's brand new, that nobody knows about, that's like award winning, and by the way, it's got to be really dirt cheap. And he says, okay, Brian, well, I got this Merlot over here, just won a bunch of awards. We've only been carrying it for 2 weeks, and it's $2.60 a bottle. And I'm like, sold. Give me 3 cases. So I go to my maid closet and I put the cases of wine in the maid closet, dirt cheap wine. And then I tell my maids, when you show up at the property, clean the property, put out a bottle of wine for my guests. Put out 2 glasses right there. And then my virtual front desk, they know to send a message to my guest. It looks like it's coming from me, by the way. And it says, hey, Joe, hope you enjoy your stay. Enjoy the bottle of wine on me, Brian. Now, Joe's blown away because I just gave him wine. I put a mint on his pillow. I got him coffee in the kitchen, all these whatnots, right? And shampoo in the bathroom, all these fancy things, whatever that you would expect to get in a hotel. But I'm not paying for any of those things. And he gives me 126 5-star reviews. The guests give me 126 reviews. And the way that I was able to do all this without coming out of pocket is because the cleaning fee that, let's say I'm paying the cleaning company $100 to come clean this unit, I charge Joe $110. On Airbnb, you can charge a cleaning fee. You can add it on. So Joe pays $110. The $100 goes to pay for the cleaning. The $10 goes to pay for all the other stuff. Same way when you check in a hotel, do you think you're getting free stuff? No, you're not getting free stuff. You're already paid for it when you paid the hotel to stay there. So we're doing the same thing. So none of this stuff has to come out of your pocket. And none of it has to be done by you. Now, once again, do you see the common theme here? I'm not involved in the process. I'm outsourcing and automating every step. That is the key here. Step 5, create your listing. Okay, so step 5 is where we list our property on the site, put it up on Airbnb. Now, when you list a property on Airbnb, you have the descriptions and you've got the photos. The photos are the most important thing of anything on an Airbnb listing. In fact, research shows that properly photographed listings generate 2 to 3 times as many bookings as the average listing. Okay, that's 200 to 300% more if you have the correct photos. So how important are photos? Extremely, extremely important. So you want to get the photos right, because when somebody's scrolling on Airbnb, they're only going to see one photo. And if they don't click on that photo, they're never going to see your property. So you want to make sure your first photo particularly is very, very, very good. In fact, I just got a listing up this week. I got a listing photographed this week, hired a photographer to come in, paid her $150 to professionally photograph my house, because I know I'm going to make more than $150 extra that first month and more than pay for her photos that she did. And most people aren't doing this. Most people on Airbnb are rank amateurs, so it's very, very easy to do photos better than anybody else, because most people just don't do this. So that's where we create our listing in step 5. And that brings us to this step, the show me the money step. All right, show me the money, Brian. Where do I make the money? Well, this is in step 6. Step 6 is where you welcome your guests. So this is where your phone starts going ding, ding, ding. Every time a reservation comes in, it's very, very addictive. It's very, very fun. So you get a reservation, you start filling your calendar, getting all of your nights booked. And one great way to do that is to charge less to earn more. How can you charge less and earn more? Well, you have one guy that's charging $200 a night, for example, right? And he books, say, 15 nights. You have another guy that charges $50 less, and he books every single day on the calendar. Who's making more? The guy who's charging less, right? So it's not so much how much you charge per night, it's how much do you make per month. It's the money you charge times the number of days. So the goal is to fill your calendar. And I don't care if you're charging $200, $150, $100, $75. It could be anywhere. It could be all over the map. But the idea is to fill every single day on the calendar. That's how you start making the big dollars. And this is where the real money is. This is where you're able to make the kind of numbers I'm talking about. Thousands of dollars off each listing. Step 7 is where you start leveraging your time. This is very, very important. I don't want you to start another job or another business that takes all your time. That's not what this is about. This is a side hustle that you can scale to huge numbers. That's what I want you to be able to do. So the goal here is that properties get cleaned, but you don't clean them. Okay? Your cleaning company is cleaning them. Guests get helped, but you don't have to help them. Somebody else can help them. And things get fixed, but you don't fix them. You can have a handyman do that. Okay, so the idea is the guests are going to have a great experience. They're not going to know that we're not involved. Everybody's going to win here, except we don't have to be involved. And there are 2 main ways that we automate. Number 1 way that we automate is to delegate everything. Okay, so we delegate everything other than finding more listings. The only job you should have is to go find your next profitable listing. That's it. Most people don't do this. The next thing is to create a policy so nothing has to be handled more than once. Okay, a policy is just a checklist. So here's the checklist of the way I want to run my business, and you hand it off to your service, your front desk, your different partners that you have, and let them run it based on what you put on your list of policies. And I had a conversation, let me give you a quick story. I had a conversation with a girl here in my town who only has 2 listings on Airbnb. And I asked her, why don't you have more? And she's like, Brian, how in the world could I have more? I don't have time. I got a full-time job, and I'm doing these 2 listings. And I said, what are you doing with your listing? She says, oh, I clean them and I get ready for the next guest and I talk to my guests and I got to make sure I'm getting 5 stars and da, 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 da. I said, you're doing all that yourself? And she's like, yeah. I was like, why don't you outsource all that so you can go get more listings? She's like, oh, no, I could never do that. And she's still stuck at 2 listings. It's been years at 2 listings. That's not how you do it. That's not how you scale. And unfortunately, most people don't know how to do that. So that brings us to step 8. Step 8 is where you build your empire. This is about repeating the process. Getting more and more and more listings. You list your second or your third property. And this is where you enjoy what I call economies of scale. Okay, economies of scale is where, things are cheaper. In other words, you can go back to your cleaning company and say, hey, Mr. Cleaning Company owner, how many cleanings do you do for me? 47 a week. Okay, well, am I your biggest client? I am. Okay, maybe it's time we renegotiate how much I pay on these cleanings. You can bring down your costs on your cleanings. You can actually make money on your cleanings. How cool is that? You can go and get things in bulk. You can save on buying sheets or buying towels or any of the things you have to buy. You're going to save money because now you have scale. Now you have a bunch of properties. So you're going to save on economies of scale. And you can go to any size you like. You might have the goal of just having 4 or 5 or 6 properties, or maybe you want to go to dozens of properties. I have a guy his name's Trey. He's in Atlanta. He is working on, I think, right around 80 properties, $2 million a year on Airbnb. I've got a couple students that are approaching 7 figures, and I've got countless people that are over 6 figures doing this. So you can scale to whatever you want, or maybe you just want to do $1,000, $2,000 a month with one little listing. I don't know what your goal is, but you can scale it to whatever size you like. And the truth is, 99% of Airbnb hosts have only 1 or 2 listings. The vast majority of people out there only have 1 or 2 listings that are on Airbnb, but there's an art and a science to being in that 1%. Okay, the top 1% of Airbnb hosts. And I think that learning what doesn't work is just as valuable as learning what does work. Not repeating the mistakes that I've made. There's a formula for success. Okay, it's worked not just for me, but for many other people around the world. So my question to you is, what if you could start your own Airbnb side hustle and do it by following a proven step-by-step formula that works? What if you could start right now, no matter what your level of experience is? How confident would you be if I walked you through every single step of the process? If you're interested to learn how to do that, here's what we're going to do next. We are going to build your Airbnb business from start to finish together. And when we're done, you'll have your very first profitable listing on Airbnb. So if you're tired of relying on income that only comes in if you go to work, and if you want to get your first listing fast with a lot less effort, and you want to learn the skill of creating semi-passive cash flow from multiple Airbnb listings without the need to own any properties, then this program is specifically for you. Let me tell you about my B&B formula. My B&B formula is an 8-week masterclass program. Basically, what I'm going to do is take you through 8 weeks where every week I teach you one of those 8 steps that we just went through. So that by the end of going through that training, you'll have everything you need to create your first listing on Airbnb, and then your second, and then your third. And by the end of the program, you will have it located at least one property and listed on Airbnb and created a new source of income for you and your family. Okay? It's a video training where I teach every single lesson. We go through 8 weeks. Can you do it faster in 8 weeks? Certainly, if you want to. But it's designed to be done step by step and does not take a lot of time. You can do this a few hours a week when you have time, step by step by step. And if you go through the masterclass, I also am going to include these tools, these B&B tools. For example, the landlord letter that I mentioned. This letter is a sales letter that will get you deals. You can customize it. You can literally put your name, the name of your company, your business, whatever you want to put on the top of the letter, customize it, print it out, and then hand it to owners. I've had many times where I've left these letters with people, and months later they've contacted me and said, "Hey, Brian, I got your letter sitting here. I just had a vacancy, and I think I want to go ahead and lease this property to you. I'm tired of tenants." All right. So this landlord letter does all the work for you, does all the heavy lifting for you. I'm also going to give you all the rental forms that you need. Okay. You're going to need a lease. You can go hire an attorney and pay hundreds of dollars to an attorney to come up with a lease, or you can just use the one that I created for you. Simply print and deploy all the rental forms that you need. I'm also going to give you access to my property profits calculator. Now, early on when I was getting involved in basically trying to figure out this Airbnb thing, I had to go in and try to figure out how to calculate everything. Like this much money times this many nights, and this much money times this many nights, and occupancy rates, and all these crazy numbers. I couldn't figure out how much money am I going to make on a property. So I hired these guys, these very smart guys over in India, to create this software for me called my Property Profits Calculator. And basically you just put in the numbers on any property, the rent and the utilities, and then you can calculate how much you'll make, like monthly, and how much you make annually, and how much you make daily. It just spits out the number. It actually takes out the fees for Airbnb, takes out the fees for the cleanings, and all that stuff. Virtual front desk, all that stuff's taken out. So you can know exactly to the penny what you make. I'll give you access to this calculator as well. And also a welcome placard. This is the thing that your guests see when they walk into the property that gives them all the information on where they are and the Wi-Fi, and basically welcomes them to the property. You can customize this for your own use. Okay, there's some other tools in there, but these are some of the main things. I'm also going to give you B&B templates. So these are things like detailed descriptions. So you can use the exact same descriptions that I use in my listings in order to get tons and tons of bookings. Okay, I've split test and tried every kind of description you can use. You can use the same descriptions that I use. I also give you my magic messages. These are the messages that you're going to just basically cut and paste and send out to your guests to tell you when to send them and what to say. And you can just hand these messages off to your front desk, and they'll take care of it for you. Okay, and I'll show you how to interact and basically set that up, so you're not having to send these messages out. I'm also going to give you the ultimate house manual. House manual is something that Airbnb requires you to have. It's just a guide that you put in your listing, and you also generally put it in the property itself. And I'll give you my own house manual so you don't have to write it. Okay, you can just use the one I have and edit it for yourself. I'm also going to give you a B&B checklist. These are great for people that want to stay organized. For example, the maid master checklist. So, Brian, what are all the things that the maids have to do when they show up, like putting out the wine? It sounds like there's a lot of things going on there. Yeah, there are, but they're all on the checklist. Literally just tape it to the wall, point at it, and say, do those things on the list. Every time you come to my property, do those things. That's the checklist, okay? I'll give you that. I'll also give you the maid closet checklist. This is the inventory. It's basically just the inventory of all the things that are going to go in your maid closet. Like, I need the little soaps, I need some toilet paper, I need this, and you can put all that in there. And guess what? I don't even shop for that crap anymore. I pay my cleaning company to go send one of their maids for an hour down to Costco or Walmart and buy all that stuff for me. I don't even shop for that stuff, okay? It's all taken care of by my cleaning company. So that checklist you'll get, and you'll get the A to Z property setup guide, which basically just goes through every single step that you need to go through in order to get the property up and listed so you don't miss anything, okay? Additionally, you're going to get access to my B&B Formula private Facebook group. Now, the Facebook group, what this is when you go into my Facebook group, this is the most elite group of B&Bers in the world, period. I mean, there are tons of people in here that are doing giant numbers all over the world, in 38, 39 countries, somewhere in there, in this group, and there are deals being made. So somebody says, hey, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, and I got a property that I just found. I can't pick it up because I'm setting up another listing. Who wants it? Who wants this lead? Or I'm an owner of a property, and I own this property over here in Idaho, and don't know what I'm going to do with it. I think I'd probably like to give it to another B&B'er. You know, there's all kinds of deals that are going on. There's money being found in this group. So somebody can say, I need some money. I need a money partner so I can go get some more listings. All that's happening inside this Facebook group. It's only available to B&B Formula members. Okay, so you get instant access to the B&B Facebook group. There's some really killer content in there as well that I put in there. B&B Formula Masterclass has already started. Your first set of lessons are waiting for you. So if you want to start right now, you can start right now. Just watch the videos. Watch the videos. Not like Netflix. Don't watch them all in one night. Watch the videos and then follow along with me and find your first property. Okay, we're going to find your first property together. And by the time the training is done, you will locate and set up at least one or maybe even more listings. I have some students, by the end of 8 weeks, they have 2 or 3 properties. My goal is to at least get you one, because if you can do one, you can do it again. But the idea is you can do more than one. Just depends on how fast you want to go. So what about the price? Well, if you want to work with me one-on-one, I do have one-on-one clients I charge $10,000 for. Let me tell you about one. His name's Bill Geist. He lives in Southern Florida. He's got properties in Southern Florida right on the beach there, like 1 block away from the beach. He's got a 5-unit actual bed and breakfast that he had listed on Airbnb. And he contacted me, he said, Brian, we've been using Airbnb forever, but we don't like the numbers we're getting. Can you help me? And I said, sure, you can sign up for direct coaching with me and I'll talk to you. And so I talked to him and I looked at his listings and Bill showed me what he was doing on Airbnb. And I was like, Bill, whatever you're doing with your listing, there's nothing about your listing that would make me want to stay there. Like you're not painting a picture for me. You just have these really boring photos. I can see you're in a beautiful location, but everything's wrong with your listing. He's like, well, what do you suggest I do? And I said, here's what you do. I want you to stage that property, okay? We're going to go in there. We're going to stage it. What I want you to do is take that beautiful porch there that overlooks the ocean. I want you to put a croissant and a steaming cup of coffee out there and a newspaper and make me want to stay on that porch and look at the ocean, okay? And in the bathroom where the jetted tub is, let's fill that with bubbles and put candles around it, make it look romantic for the couples. And let's stage every single room of each one of these units and then get a photographer to come in and take proper photos. And so he did all this, right? Took a few days to go do all this. And I never heard from Bill again. And so I emailed him. I was like, Bill, where did you go? You got more calls with me. Do you want to talk? And he responded. He's like, Brian, I don't need to talk to you. I got my money's worth. The next month after doing the changes you suggested, we made $20,000 more in bookings. The next month, not $20,000 he made $20,000 increase in his bookings just in 1 month from doing those changes based on what I said. So that's what I do for my one-on-one clients. And he made roughly $20,000 increase every month thereafter on those listings. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, I do that, $10,000. But today, if you want to start, you can start for a fraction of that. If you want to get started and join the B&B Formula Masterclass, it's just one payment of $997 or 2 payments of $597. Okay, now if you pay the $997, you're going to save $200. If you pay $597, it'll be $597 now and $597 in 30 days. Okay, those are your 2 options. And I want to show you something really quickly here. You don't have to go there right now, but this is my website, bnbformula.com. And if you go over here to the products tab, you click on products, you'll see here's the B&B Formula course. And you can click on right there and get started. Every single day this course is available. You can see the price there is $19.97. I just want to show you this. This is the actual price for the B&B Formula course, $19.97. If you want to get that price for $9.97, you're going to want to join on this webinar. And I want to show you this too. Okay, these are actual transaction receipts here from Stripe, which is where I process my payments. Okay, so I want you to see this is real. $19.97 all the time. People are buying it for $19.97 online. So you're going to get the discounted price if you sign up on this webinar. You're going to see these two options, $9.97 and $5.97. Just choose one. And then you just put in your information. I just put in a guy here named Bob, put in all your information, and then you're going to click the continue button. And then once you do that, you're going to come to this page right here, and you just put in your information. And once you do that, submit your payment, boom, you're in. We'll send you an email, and you'll have instant access. So it's super simple. And listen, I want to make this a completely safe decision for you. That's my goal here. I want you to become one of the top 1% of Airbnb earners and help you create an amazing new source of income in your life. So if for any reason in the next 30 days you decide, hey, Brian, this is not for me, just let me know. Okay, just let me know and you get a 100% refund. Okay, that's my promise to you. And so for those of you who just joined, welcome. Let me see here. All right, looks like we definitely have a lot of people that just joined, so welcome anybody who is now in. Look for that welcome email. So I'm very excited that you're on board. For those of you who just joined, you're going to be taken to the login page for the members, and then you can start right away. So to recap, here's what you're going to get. First of all, you're going to get access to the B&B Formula Masterclass. Okay, it's a $1,997 value, which I just showed you. You're also going to get all the tools and the templates and the checklist. It's a $697 value. You're going to get access to the B&B Formula Facebook group with all the B&Bers in there from all over the world, $297 value. And what I did is all the lessons are also available as MP3s. So some people are like, hey, I want to listen on the go. I want to listen while I'm working out or in the car going to work. Do you have MP3s? Yes, I do. Every single lesson is an MP3, and every lesson has a transcript. For those of you who love to take notes like I do, for those of you who like to read, we got transcripts. I also have action guides. Action guides basically take the key components and the key takeaways from every single lesson and put them in a format, basically an outline format, so you can see them and also take notes in the action guides. So basically it's a total value, all of those things together, $35.82, and the price is only $9.97 to join right now. But wait a second, there's more. There's more. I always feel like Steve Jobs when I say that. Since you've joined me for this presentation, I've got a few bonuses for you. Now, the first bonus I want to give you is called, Will Airbnb Work in My City? If you think Airbnb is just for tourists, think again, because if you have a hotel near you, you are in business. Or as one of my students says, all you got to do is take one hotel room for yourself from these hotels. So if you're anywhere near a hotel, that means somebody has spent a lot of money to put a building there that does nothing but cater to short-term guests, right? That's what hotels do. So that means people are coming to your area and they need to stay 1 or 2 or 3 or 7 nights. So this bonus is going to go into that and show you how this will work in all kinds of cities. In fact, I've got students in cities as small as 600 people. I've got tons of students that are in cities under 10,000 people that are doing very, very well. I got students in medium-sized cities, large metropolises, you name it. Size of the city has nothing to do with it. We're going to go through that. And I would say the vast majority, 95% of people, are not in tourist destinations. So you do not need to live in a tourist city to do this. So we're going to explain all of that in bonus number 1. Also, I'm going to give you bonus number 2. How to make $1,000 a month on your first listing without signing a lease or without coming up with first month's rent or security deposit. How, Brian, is that possible? Well, we're going to talk about how to partner with the owners, how to give them what I call the Godfather deal. Give them an offer that they can't refuse. It's so good they can't refuse it. I'm going to show you how to do that. You don't have to have credit. You don't have to have cash in the bank to be able to do this. So there are ways to do this without signing a lease at all. Okay, and this bonus is going to break down exactly how to do that. Bonus number 3, how to make money on your first Airbnb listing before the first rent payment is even due. This is what I did with that one studio that I showed you earlier. Remember that studio I took the photos and listed it early? I'm going to show you how to do that. How would you like to book out your entire first month before you even have the keys to the property? I'm going to walk you through how I did that and how you can do the same thing. Bonus number 4, is Airbnb allowed in my city? Is it even allowed where I live, Brian? I'm not sure if it's allowed. This bonus, what I did here is we spent months with a research firm looking at the top 2,000 cities in the U.S. We basically took every city in the U.S. that's over 30,000 people. So if you're in a city with more than 30,000 people, you're on this list. And we'll give you access to this list. And the cool thing that we found is that of all these cities in the U.S., 92% of them allow Airbnb. 92%. And the 8% where you're not allowed to do Airbnb, only half of them even enforce the rules. I'm not telling you to break the rules, but I'm going to show you how to do this regardless of where you live. And we have students in literally every metro area across the U.S. I'm not exaggerating, every metro area across the U.S. has B&B formula students. So I'm going to walk you through how to do this regardless of where you live without having to break the rules. If you don't want to break the rules, I'll show you how to do it. Bonus number 5, the 7 reasons landlords won't do Airbnb themselves. Why in the world, Brian, would an owner not just do this themselves? The short answer is most people don't want to change, okay? They don't want to learn how to do something new. And you can look at all these examples, Kodak, Blockbuster, Polaroid, Toys R Us, Borders, all these companies that are gone because they did not want to change with the times. And what's happening right now in the marketplace with short-term rentals is it's changing everything. It's changing everything with real estate, everything with hospitality and the hotel industry. And so what I'm going to show you is there's a lot of reasons why owners won't do this. And when you understand those reasons, you're going to be like, it's going to give you the confidence that you need to say, owners are just not going to do this. They're just not most of the time, and you can capitalize on that. Bonus number 6, the 13 most profitable locations in any city and how to quickly find those areas and those types of location. It's not just for tourists. There are 13 different types of travelers on Airbnb. Let me give you a couple examples. If you're in a college town, I have students that are cleaning up in college towns because people travel there all the time. Students, guest lecturers, people that are there, short-term parents that are coming in, future students that are coming in. So it could be a college town. Maybe you live near a convention center, a destination convention center where people are coming in, business travelers. There are all kinds of reasons why people travel beyond just tourism. And I'm going to break down the 13 major types of locations that you can focus on in your city where you happen to live. And we'll get your niche dialed in so you know what kind of properties to find. I told you I got a few of these. Bonus number 7, how to instantly know if your first Airbnb listing will be profitable in just a few minutes. I'm going to show you how to calculate very fast using that calculator that I mentioned and use a very simple rule of thumb that you can apply to any property. And by the end of this bonus, you'll know exactly how much a property can make on Airbnb just in a few minutes. So it'll give you the confidence you need to be able to jump on something immediately and know it's a good deal and to cherry pick the very best properties. Bonus number 8, I'm going to show you the most popular listing in every one of the 50 states. I'm going to walk you through. This is super fun. I'm going to show you all these listings so that you can kind of borrow some of these ideas for yourself. You can apply some of these really cool ideas that people are doing in these top listings to what you're doing in your listing. And then bonus number 9, how to find a fast $2,000 to $5,000 from a stranger to start your first listing regardless of your credit score. Okay, we're not talking about getting a credit card or anything. Let's assume that you need money to go get your first listing. For those of you who do, I'm going to show you how to get all the money that you need to be able to go start your business. It's not hard to do. I'll teach you exactly the way that I do it, a proven way to find money fast. And brings us to bonus number 10, how to gain an unfair advantage with your first Airbnb listing. What if you could know what's going on in your town? What if you knew what people are charging in your city? How much people are charging by the night? What is their occupancy level? What are they charging on the weekends? Where are the hottest listings located? Are there hot spots in your town where there's more listings than other areas? All that information you can't find on Airbnb. They don't give it to you, but there is a way to find it. And I'm going to show you how to get that unfair advantage so you know what's going on, not in general, but specifically where you live. Like literally putting in an address and getting back all that information on that address. Super, super powerful. We're going to go through that in bonus number 10. All right. Also, bonus number 11, how to live rent-free. Anybody who wants to learn how to do what I did, live rent-free in your place, the place that you're currently living, what I call apartment hacking, I'm going to break it down here in bonus number 11. So you can basically live for free wherever you happen to be. For those of you who are willing to do Airbnb in your own property. Okay, so that's bonus number 11. So to recap, you're going to get the B&B Formula Masterclass, which is a $1997 value. You're going to get all the tools, templates, and checklists. You're going to get access to the Facebook group. You're going to get the MP3 lessons and transcripts. You're going to get the action guides. You're also going to get bonus number 1, Will Airbnb Work in My City, which is a $200 value. How to make $1,000 a month on your first listing without signing a lease. How to make money before your first rent payment is due. Is Airbnb allowed in my city? 7 reasons landlords won't do Airbnb. The 13 most profitable locations in any town or city. Bonus number 7, the 10-minute profitability test. The most popular listing in all 50 states. How to find a fast $2,000 to $5,000 from a stranger. How to gain an unfair advantage with your first listing. How to live rent-free in your current rental. Total value $5,749. Now still only $997. And of course, we still have the 2-payment option if you want to go $597 to get started right now. And there's one more thing. When you purchase the B&B Formula, before the presentation ends, you're also going to get what I call my fast action bonus. Just for those of you who join by the end of the webinar, you get to get this fast action bonus, which is listen to me call property owners. Some people are like, okay, Brian, can you just let me look over your shoulder as you do this and see how you do this? Well, certainly. I recorded my calls with some of these owners and basically put them all together and let you just listen to me as I call people and see how I get to set up these properties. And when you see how I do it, how simple it is, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can do that. It's not that complicated. So I'm going to let you listen in as I call property owners. Okay, that's an audio training. It's available to you, and it's only a fast action bonus if you join by the end of the presentation. And I do have one other fast action bonus. There's 2 of them. This is called First Airbnb Listing Stories. It's a video training. So what I did is I interviewed 12 different students that have gone through the training, and they're going to share with you how they found, how they negotiated, and how they listed their very first listing, how much they're making, all that stuff, where they're located. You're going to see all these people, 12 of them, in First Airbnb Listing Stories. So here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the masterclass, the tools, the templates, the checklists, the Facebook group, the MP3 lessons and transcripts, the action guides, all the bonuses, all of these bonuses right here. And you're also going to get, if you join during the presentation, only during this presentation, you can get the 2 fast action bonuses. Listen to me call property owners, which is a $495 value, and First Airbnb Listing Stories. Total value now, $6,739, only $997 if you join at the link below. $997. Warning, these 2 fast action bonuses are not available after we end, so they will disappear. And I wanted to show you really quickly right here at bnbformula.com. You can go there anytime in the future if you want to buy it for $1997. But if you want the price that we have here, I encourage you to join now. And remember, I said I wanted you to hear from some of my students. I wanted to see some of their stories. So let me just tell you about a couple of these people. This is Tia. She's from Snohomish, Washington. And she says, realizing I never had to wake up and work for someone else ever again is amazing. And let me tell you what she did. She quit her job. She did in just a few months. She got 5 listings. She's approaching 6 figures a year, and she's not doing it with leases at all. No leases. She's not ever signed one lease. She's working on, I think, 2 or 3 more listings now. I just talked to her a couple weeks ago. She's killing it, and she's in her 20s. And she says she's basically retired. When people ask her, what do I do? What does she do for a living? She says, I'm retired. So that's Tia. This is Monica in Los Angeles. She says she has 3 apartments in LA. Get this. That together generate $15,000 a month. Name a business where you can make $15,000 a month on 3 little properties that you can set up right now. I don't know any business that you can make that kind of money that fast. And that's what she did in LA. And in fact, now she's working on getting international properties. She's got properties she's lining up over in Europe right now. She's got a friend in Europe that's helping her set them up. Seth and Jake said, we live in a small town. Thought there's no way Airbnb would work here. We now bring in $5,500 a month with just two properties. Okay, they're in Bloomington, Illinois. I never even heard of the place. Bloomington, Illinois. I think it's 100,000 people. So they're doing it. This guy, David, Loganville, Georgia, small town in Georgia. My kids no longer need to worry about me in retirement. My 3 listings make over $3,500 a month. Let me tell you about this guy. I was brought to tears when he sent me his video. He didn't know how he was going to retire. He had no idea how he was going to retire. He had no plan. And he said, you literally saved my retirement. You saved me. And now my kids don't worry about me because I have a way to support myself. Amazing, amazing story. So I got people as young as 18. I got people all the way up in their 80s that are doing this. And then Sherilyn is in Sacramento, California. She says, when I saw my month end and it was the same as what I had been making at my full-time job after 20 years, I knew at that moment that this is what I should be doing. Sherilyn says that she's a course junkie. She's bought all the real estate courses out there. And she said the difference between Brian's course and everybody else's is that Brian shows you exactly what to do in detail and exactly how to do every single step. So you just do what he says and it works. And I want you to see that these are real people. So if you go to bnbformula.com/reviews, you'll see these. I pulled these quotes from these videos. These are actual videos of all these people. And you can see all of them are listed here. You can watch their full story. And if you scroll down through the reviews here, you'll see that we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I think we have like 540 videos from all over the world. Big cities, small cities, different countries, all over the place. In fact, you probably see some of your cities listed there. These are all people that have gone through the training. So you can see that this is the real deal. So if you ever want to check that out in the future, want to see more stories, that's where you can find them at bnbformula.com/reviews. If you remember nothing else, remember these 8 takeaways. Number 1, you don't need to own property to earn 6 figures. You can rent. Okay. Number 2, you can earn a lot more with Airbnb than leasing to one long-term tenant. Number 3, if you've ever rented a property to live in, you already know how half of this works. Number 4, with multiple Airbnb listings, you can easily earn 6 figures or even become, as Forbes said, an Airbnb millionaire. Number 5, you can break even in your first month compared to waiting years using the traditional real estate investing model. Number 6, it's possible to get started with as little as 1 month's rent deposit. Number 7, you can do this with low credit scores like I did, very little cash, and even foreclosures on your credit reports. Number 8, you can be profitable before your first rent payment is even due. And I want to do some questions. We got a lot here. Oh my gosh. Let me go through these and pick out some good ones that I think most of you would want to know the answer to. So let's see here. Janie, what's going on, Janie? Janie says, isn't this subleasing? I think most leases say you can't sublease. Good question. Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you stay in a hotel and you pay them money, are you subleasing the hotel? Well, of course not, right? No, you're not subleasing. Well, you're not subleasing here either. It doesn't matter that people are paying to stay in the property. It's not subleasing because there's no signed document. Nobody's signing a piece of paperwork that says that they are now paying the expenses on the property. The only person responsible for that is you, is the person that's actually the tenant or the person signing the lease if you're going to go the traditional route. So no, it's not subleasing, first of all. Secondly, the way I do it is I give you the form. I give you the actual form that basically goes along with any standard lease, and it turns it from a regular lease into a B&B lease. And all it says, I'm just going to dumb it down basically because I hate legalese and legal jargon, but it basically just says that I'm not going to live in the property as the tenant. My guests are going to stay in the property, and that I'm responsible, not them. Basically, that's what it says. And once you have that on there, then it doesn't matter if there's a sublease clause. None of that stuff applies. And I just like to provide my own paperwork anyways to the owner and have them sign my paperwork. It just makes everything easier. So no, it's not subleasing, first of all. And secondly, between you and the owner, whatever you decide is what goes. Good question. All right, so Sarah says, Brian, will this work in my city? I live in a very small town. Good question. Yeah, remember earlier I was telling you we have many students in towns of under 10,000. And most people think they live in a small town when it's 100,000. So yeah, there's no correlation between town size, city size, and success level at all. Everybody thinks of Airbnb as this big thing that's in urban areas and big cities, and it is. But it's also extremely successful in rural areas. In fact, an article just came out recently. Ranchers in rural Texas that are cleaning up, they're making bank because people want to stay on farms and ranches in the middle of nowhere in Texas. and they're using Airbnb to do it. It's really cool. I've got students got 5 cabins in rural Canada, killing it, absolutely killing it, because nobody in the county is offering what he's offering. He's got these cool little cabins. So it has nothing to do with the size of your town. Good question. I got students in every size city. Monty says, what do I do if it's restricted in my city? Airbnb, I'm assuming if Airbnb is restricted. Good question. Okay, so Monty, Airbnb is a disruptor, right? It's disrupting, just like Netflix disrupted Blockbuster Video and Amazon's disrupting all these brick and mortar stores. Airbnb is disrupting the hotel industry. And the hotel industry is very powerful. And so they're going to fight back. And they have been fighting back. And in some of these 8% of cities that I told you about where it's not allowed, they officially don't allow Airbnb. What's interesting is that in those 8% of cities, we did the research. Guess what's happening in those 8% of cities? Less than half of them enforce the rules. Less than half even have enforcement of any kind. Which is why it doesn't matter what city you choose. Go pick San Francisco, for example. Pull it up and see if you see Airbnb listings. You will see hundreds and hundreds of listings. Actually, there's thousands, but they limit the search results to 300. There are listings in every city. I don't care how restrictive. So people are still doing it. But if you want to do this without breaking the rules and you live in one of those 8% of areas, we can show you how to do it. Rest assured, we have a solution for you that works no matter where you live, except North Korea. If you're in North Korea, you're out of luck. All right, next question. What are the startup costs? Ron says, what are the startup costs? How much money do you need to get started with your first property? Okay, that depends. If you're going to do leasing, I love leasing. Why would I want to sign a lease if you don't have to? Because I want to control the property. I don't want to give away any more than I have to, not $1 more. And I know it works, so I don't mind signing your lease. But if you want to sign a lease, you might have to give the owner a little bit more. You can start for virtually nothing. You can just go there and offer it as a service. Hey, I want to list your property on Airbnb. Here's how the split will work. I'll make sure that you make at least what you normally make with a tenant or more, and I'll keep the difference. Or I'll give you, this percentage. If you do a lease, then you're going to need the first month's rent, first month's deposit, that kind of thing, and whatever that is for the unit you're looking for. So you will need a little bit of money there. But there is a way to do it with virtually no money, and that is the partnership method, which I teach in depth also in the course. It's a good question. Belinda, does this work in countries outside the U.S.? Yes. Actually, what's really interesting about Airbnb, most people don't know this. They think it's an American thing. It was founded in the U.S., but Airbnb, 75% of Airbnb listings do not reside in the United States. So 3 out of every 4 are overseas. It is booming. I mean, it's explosive. It's been growing huge in the States, but it's explosive overseas. So yes, it works in all countries. Any country that has English speakers, just about, we have B&B Formula members there. I've got them all over the world. In fact, I keep talking to my wife about doing a world tour. I'm like, one day I'm going to do a world tour. I'm going to go visit all these people that are B&B Formula members and stay in their B&Bs. And I don't know if that'll happen, but yes, it works all over the world. Doesn't matter. As long as you can get access to a property that's privately owned and get permission to use it on Airbnb, you can do it in your country. Great question. All right, let's see. Wow, a lot of questions. What's the next one? Next one. Okay, Jonas says, how long will it take me to find a property? Wow, you guys asked some tough questions. I like that. That's what I would ask. How long does it take me to find a property? Well, the course is designed for you to find your first property in 30 days. And your second property by the end of the 8 weeks, by the end of the second month. Now, would you do that? I don't know. You might do better than that. You might not. I don't know. It's totally up to you. I would say the average student takes about 30 days, maybe 40 days to get their first listing. And I have many students who've done 2 or 3 listings by the end of 8 weeks. It depends on you. It depends on how quickly you want to work and how fast you want to move. And it's just like anything else. Once you figure it out, you kind of understand how it works. It's not hard. You start adding more and more listings. So it doesn't take long. Like I said, it's a business that you can be profitable within 30 days. If you do what I teach in the course at the rate I teach, I also don't try to make it like drinking out of a fire hydrant. That's why I don't make it a 2-week course. This is something that I want you to do slowly, step by step. You got a couple hours a week to devote to it, then you can do it in 30 days and 8 weeks, have your second listing. So that's a great question. Next one, Linda in Oregon. Hey, Linda. Linda says, how do I get started if I don't have money for first month's rent and deposit? Okay, well, in that training, remember I teach you how to get $2,000 to $5,000 from a stranger without having to use a gun? I'll teach you how to do that. How do you get money from strangers? It's not hard. I did that myself because when I was starting out, at the very beginning, I had very little money when I started, And I was using all the money that came in to kind of go get my next listing. And then another listing came available that I had to scoop up. I had 2 listings at the same time. I was like, crap, what do I do now? So I had to very quickly learn how to hustle and find money. It's not hard. It's really not hard. There are people all over the place that are looking for a great return on their money. And if you can show them how it's safe and how they're going to get a phenomenal return on their money quickly, then you just pay them back from the income that you make. Right? So you borrow $5,000 or $3,000, whatever, and you just pay them back the first few months till it's paid off, and now everything after that's gravy and is yours. Or you can pay it back over the course of a year. There's all kinds of ways to do it, but we teach how do you find those people? How do you set that up? And if you need any help, we actually have human beings that answer the phone. You can call us right now. If you got questions that I don't get to, you need any help at all, just call us. We'll be happy to help. Let's see. I'll do one more. Okay, Jackson. Jackson says, how soon will I start have money coming in? Similar question. Okay, the money comes in. Okay, well, let me tell you this. The money comes in the day after your first guest arrives. That's the specific answer. So if you get bookings on Airbnb and then you have a guest that's checking in the very next day, boom, if you have a $450 booking, the next day $450 goes in your account. So the way I structure it, I don't want you to get a property and then you don't get around to getting it ready till the end of the month, and now you've got all these days you've wasted. You're going to be prepping before the first day you get the keys. Does that make sense? So your goal is to stack those bookings in advance. So the day your B&B opens or a couple days after, you've got money coming in, right? And so all this money is going to come into your account automatically from Airbnb every time a guest checks in, and then at the end of the month, you're going to pay the expenses on the property. You're going to pay the rent and the utilities, and whatever's left over is yours. That's it. It's not that more complicated than that. And I just do one account for all the properties. And so, yeah, so you start making money as soon as your first guest arrives, and the goal is to find that property and get it set up within the first 30 days, the first 4 weeks. Because remember, the locate step is the 4th step. You know, there's all kinds of businesses you can start out there. There's all kinds of opportunities nowadays. There's so many opportunities of things you can start. And the thing that's different about this is that it's like becoming a real estate investor without having to actually take any of the risk of buying the real estate. And there's nothing technical about it. There's really nothing technical. I mean, anybody who's used Airbnb knows that Airbnb is a super easy app that you can use right on your phone. Most of us know how to lease a property. That's not that complicated, signing a lease. And so what I'm going to do is show you the whole thing, make it faster, easier, and get the result for you much, much faster. But compared to any other kind of side hustle that you can start, I don't know anything where you could become profitable like your first month, start creating cash flow pretty much immediately as soon as you list it on Airbnb. There's really nothing quite like it because a lot of other things require a lot of technical knowledge, and they're just much harder to make money with. Because believe me, I've done all those things. Like, for example, selling courses. So I just think that's one of the fastest, easiest ways to make money out there today. And it's not just small money if you want to be able to build it into something big. I believe that investing in yourself, investing in education is the very best investment that you can make, in leveraging other people's knowledge, leveraging what they know. And I think that when you educate yourself, what you're really doing is you're buying time. You're saving time, but you're buying time. So for those of you who joined, I know a lot of people joined, so I'm so excited that you're in. For those of you who didn't, I hope you got lots of value from the training. And maybe one day in the future, our paths cross again. And one last opportunity, I'm going to leave it up for just a few seconds more. Thanks so much, everybody. I wish you the best.
When we just look at the numbers, you can see that we made $4,000 this month from 1 2-bedroom apartment. And that was exciting in that we were 100% booked.
About 20 minutes after, I got my first guest who booked about a $1,200 booking right out of the gate. And over the next 3 days after that, I booked up the rest of my month.
From May to June, we did around $3,600 in revenue. In June, we did almost $8,000 in revenue. In July, we did $11,000, and in August, we did around $11,500.
I saw my month end, and it was the same as what I had been making on a full-time job after 20 years experience.
Monthly earnings went from $1,000 a month in January to about $3,000 a month in May. Overall, we are running between 2 to 3 times of rental rates in the area.
within the first 30 days, I'd made easily $3,500 just of extra income doing the B&B formula. Last month was even better, which is like my third or fourth month. I think it was like $9,000 or $10,000. It's been amazing. It's really changed my life.
I've got 3 properties and at least $3,500 a month coming in now, and that takes care of, a majority of my bills.